In June, our school board unanimously voted to place a measure on the November ballot, and that is Measure E. Loomis Union School District serves about 3,000 students, and we have 7 schools in our district. We have Penryn Elementary, Ophir Elementary, Placer Elementary, we have H. Clark Powers, Loomis Grammar School, Franklin Elementary School, and Loomis Basin Charter School.
Yeah, so schools in California have been aging, obviously, for the last 150, 170 years. Our district is 170 years old. And our schools are anywhere from 25 at our very youngest, at just one site, to upwards of 70 or 80 years old. And with that comes a lot of challenges, as would be the case with anybody's home. And I think the key here is to understand that our district, though we've done a great job maintaining and servicing our schools, we just aren't able to meet the needs now of these aged buildings. The needs that we have currently are very core and very basic. These aren't what I've said many times, bougie needs. These are the elements that are necessary to maintain the structural integrity of the buildings, the overall shell integrity as it relates to heating, cooling, and of course, water penetration from the rain. And beyond that, we do want to update the interiors of these classrooms so that they can better serve our students.
So Al and his team did a wonderful job making sure we did condition assessments on all of our campuses. So that's the first place we started. Then we took a collaborative approach to visiting all of our campuses, gathering feedback from our PTCs, from staff members, and then ultimately taking that list of needs and taking it to our school board, who then ultimately approved a project list based on those needs.
Loomis Union School District has been focused on identifying what is the appropriate need throughout all of our campuses over the last 3 to 4 years, actually. I've been here for about 2.5 years, and in that time, I have been absolutely fixated on making certain that we understood the true why behind whatever it is we were going to be doing as a district. And that need has been established by looking at each one of our sites in 4 different ways. The first way is we actually went around to each site and analyzed how the users were experiencing that space and what were they missing or what was needed in terms of updating or upgrading. Number 2, we looked at those sites through the eyes of engineers and subject matter experts to make certain that those inspections could inform our listing of projects and what would be absolutely necessary or crucial. The third and probably most near and dear to my heart was I walked every single square foot of our entire district to make certain that I was crystal clear on exactly what we had, exactly how old it was, and how long it might last, if at all, moving forward. And then finally, the fourth is we actually brought in a architect and a couple engineers to evaluate all of our spaces to make absolutely certain nothing was missed. And I guess I would add a bonus fifth, and that is we looked very closely at what the administration was seeing as important at our sites and how the local parent-teacher groups, our PTCs, as well as our students might have information to inform that process. Ultimately, collectively, we brought everything together into a tool that we now use to guide where we go in the future. The environment in which all of our students have to exist in all these hours throughout the day is extremely important. It's important to have these environments be safe, be clean, be secure in many ways, and most importantly, be as up-to-date as possible. Because frankly, without up-to-date classrooms, it's very difficult for students to really relate to that space and certainly apply that to how they learn. And frankly, it's the same for the teachers and instruction givers, is this idea that it's critical to be able to have a space that they can embrace and be able to leverage in order for these students to really excel in their learning opportunities. Loomis Union School District has 7 schools, as was mentioned, and we have 6 sites. Those 6 sites represent really the de facto standard and basis for all of our parks and rec for the Loomis Basin area. And currently on our 6 physical sites, we are able to host between 25 and 30 playing fields depending on the setup and layout.
We are doing very well in Loomis Union School District, and that is because of our amazing staff, our very involved parents and community, as well as some very strong programs across all of our sites. We attract many families to the area because of the quality education that we provide in Loomis Union School District, which also then increases property values for many in the area. So our current budget, I like to share with everyone that 80% of our expenditures goes towards salary and benefits of our staff, really ultimately for staffing purposes. So that means that 20% of our overall budget is then left for operating costs. So things such as transportation, utilities, special projects, including routine maintenance and repairs. That doesn't include cost for big replacement items like we're talking about is a need in our district, such as roofing, HVAC system, electrical panels, and such. If approved by the voters, the cost of the bond would be $27 per $100,000 of assessed value. That's not market value, but assessed value.
The state of California actually has a program by which it funds school facility improvements, and it requires a local match. Most local matches are achieved by way of a local bond or facilities bond measure. The state currently requires, in order to get one of our tax dollars back, we have to match it with a local tax dollar. And essentially it has different percentages depending on what funding you're going after. We currently are putting ourselves in line to get every single tax dollar back that we can from the state.
Placer Union High School District, which is separate from Loomis Union School District, did pass a bond in 2018 to repair and upgrade on Del Oro's campus. We have not passed a bond in several years.
Yeah, actually 25 years is the only bond we've ever passed in the history of the district, and that was to build H. Clark Powers, which frankly goes off our everybody's tax bill at the end of this next year, 2025.
Correct. So with a general obligation bond, there's a requirement to have a citizens oversight committee, and we will be reaching out to community members who will serve on that oversight committee, and their number one job will be to ensure that we are doing exactly what we say we will do with the funds.
Exactly. And when we say they'll keep an oversight view of what we're doing, what it really is they'll focus on the bond the bond list that was approved by our Board of Trustees in May. And the intent is to make certain that whatever we've promised the community by way of the ballot is in fact delivered. In addition, there's going to be two audits that are focused on just the bond measure. One is a financial audit, which is fairly typical annually, but the other is something that's very special, and that's a performance audit that absolutely makes certain that what we do is in alignment with the law and with those promises that we made to our voters.
And I think it's important to mention that there's high accountability in the oversight of a school facility bond.
So one of the challenges today, especially in public construction, especially with schools, is the cost of construction. And that's impacted by way of our inflationary issues, but also escalation. There's been a lot of movement in the construction industry over the last several years that was just exacerbated by COVID. But the fact is today, the faster we can build or modernize facilities, the cheaper we can actually do that work. So with respect to the bond measure that's currently on the ballot, the desire is to deliver the projects that are represented in that bond measure over the next 6 to 10 years, preferably closer to the 6 to 8 measurement is what we're really fixated on. Each year that goes by, we know by way of either inflation or escalation, we are probably losing anywhere from 8 to 15% of our dollar, which means 8 to 15% less work can occur if we delay it. So time is of the essence.
Something else that I think is important to share with our community is that this is locally controlled. This money will be operated and decided upon here locally in Loomis with Loomis Union School District and that oversight committee that I shared. This money cannot be taken away by the state, and I think that's really important to share.
I think that's an excellent point. I would probably add to that when we talk about it being local, we are very, very serious as Loomis Union School District in terms of how we manage that. We have already, over the last several years, focused almost all of our primary spending on vendors and suppliers that are in the Loomis Basin or immediately outside of that Loomis Basin. But right here on Taylor Road is really where we fixate most of our expenditures, and we're very proud of that. Our goal is to keep that money local, even the dollars we spend today, and keep those tax dollars generated here locally in this community.
The money from this school bond will be used to repair and replace on our current campuses.
Yeah, and I think the only add to that is that we're definitely going to be adding 2 new multi-purpose buildings at 2 sites that currently either don't have a multi-purpose building or it's completely undersized. And finally, I think the really takeaway point is that in no way, shape, or form will we be using any of this money, the bond money, for any new school campuses.